Yeah, good.
Let's give Miles a little more water if we can, please. Cam and Miles, thanks for joining us here. Congratulations on last night's win. If we could, open up the floor to some questions here. Right here in the middle.
Dustin Schutte, Sports Illustrated, Purdue. Miles, you had a dunk yesterday that went viral. Just wanting to know if you had a chance to see some of the responses on social media, if you got any special text message, anything like that from that play yesterday.
I did get a chance to look at it. It was a really nice play. I haven't really, fed into it a lot. Obviously we're trying to prepare for McNeese tomorrow, so I think it's, it was a good play, just going out there and doing my job, getting those offensive rebounds that we did. I think we did a really good job of doing that whole game. So I think it was just a play that, followed up by, a really good play by me, and Cam had a really nice play right after that. So I think that was really big for us.
Thank you. Anything else? Right in front.
Robert Lassell, Racketeer.org. For both of you guys, this year has been more playing time, more scoring, more development for you guys. What has kind of clicked for both of you this season, and how have you kind of seen yourselves grow throughout the year?
I would just say it's really staying ready. Obviously, when you kind of have a role that, you can play a lot of minutes one night, not so many the next night, you might take no shots in a game, or you might be shooting the ball quite a bit. I think it's just the preparation that goes into each and every game, each and every practice, and obviously putting in as much time as you can outside of our scheduled practice times to stay ready for moments, and when your name's called, just going out and performing.
I would have to agree with Cam says. Just preparation, really. That's a really big part of all of it. Not just the physical, getting extra shots up and running through plays and sets and stuff like that. But I think it's also more the mental. Like you said, we're not gonna know how many minutes we're gonna play that night. So go out there and just try to produce as much as we can with the minutes that we have. And I think this year we've done really good with that. And just becoming more comfortable within the offense and the defense of the schemes that we have. So I think that's really huge that we've started to learn and grow and made a big leap from last year to this year.
Thanks, guys. Right here in the middle.
Tom Bruce, Sports Illustrated, Purdue. Most of your Big Ten season, guys, was for both of you. Your games were spaced out pretty much by 3 days, and here in the NCAA tournament set up, played Thursday, play again tomorrow. What's the biggest challenge of that quick turnaround, and how quickly you can learn about your next opponent in McNeese?
I honestly don't think it's that much of a challenge for us because we've been through a lot of situations like this already in the past couple years. For both of us, going to Maui, going to the Raleigh invitation in San Diego. So I think that's really huge for us to, be able to be in those situations before the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament to just prepare us for those quick turnarounds and playing, elite teams that we haven't seen or probably won't play during the season, and just seeing different offense and defenses. So I think that's really huge for us.
Yeah, adding on to that, I would just say, a lot of it's just mental preparation. When you don't get enough, or I guess, kind of the same time you would get for a normal scout, on these quick back-to-back games, or, one day in between games, you really just have to prepare mentally. Walkthroughs at the hotel, watching a lot of film, just kind of getting as much time as you can to spend mentally preparing, because, we don't have a lot of time to physically prepare for them.
Thanks, guys. With Chris here in front.
Chris Gasper, Boston Globe. This question is for Miles. Have you gotten to experience any of the love that your dad gets in this area, being a former New England Patriot? And do you have any memories of his career, or have you only seen it on tape?
I haven't really got to experience a lot of it. I haven't really, been able to, get out and walk around. But I don't really remember a lot of his career because I was around 3 or 4. So the soonest I really remember is when I moved to Indianapolis. So I think that's really where I started to, get a lot of my memories as a young kid. And I've seen a lot of tapes and stuff like that of him playing, but I definitely wish I could have had the opportunity to remember that and experience that stuff.
Who's the better athlete?
I have to go with myself. Always betting yourself, but he was a really good athlete. I'm definitely more athletic. I can jump higher. I'm probably definitely a little faster. Definitely. So yeah.
Right here in the middle.
Hey guys, Ralph Russo from The Athletic. You talked about this short turnaround. McNeese threw, it looked like a lot of defense. I guess that's a good way to put it, right? They just threw a lot at Clemson. With that said, on a short turnaround, how do you guys process that? Do you draw on something you've seen in the Big Ten or in another opponent? What's the process of preparing for a lot of defense on a short turnaround?
I mean, we run a lot of different plays. They can kind of go against a lot of different defenses. So for us, it's really just knowing what we want to run, what they're going to do defensively and different things that we need to do offensively. And it helps when everyone's on the same page. That's one thing that we've, challenged ourselves, is making sure everyone's on the same page, everyone knows what they're doing their job before and after a shot goes up. Because there's a lot of different things that can go wrong, especially if one person's not doing their job. So kind of preparing for a team that has a lot of different defenses, it just kind of goes to, our coaches and how smart they are and the game plan that they put together for us offensively.
To add on to that, I would say, everything he said was correct and spot on. So, I think it's also due to, us being able to play different teams and different styles of play, defensively and offensively, leading up to this point. And I think we've seen a lot of different teams. We've played, low major teams where they've been quicker, faster, and can get into the ball and disrupt our offense. And we've also been against teams that are, bigger, stronger. So I think it's just also preparation, like we said, being in situations where we can have those quick turnarounds, but also, playing those teams where we're not used to playing them during the season in the Big Ten play. And I think that's really, helped us, along the way.
Thanks, guys. Back right here.
Kevin Moore, WJR here in Providence. As you guys mentally prepare, have you talked to your student managers at all, preparing for the most viral student manager in the country, Amir Khan?
I think the team we've seen him on our social media, but it's really cool for him to have that NIL deal and all that stuff. But I think we're really focused on just getting the job done and winning the game.
I agree with that.
Anything else out there for you guys? If there's nothing else, you fellas can head back to the locker room. Thank you. Good luck tomorrow. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We'll be joined by head coach Matt Painter here at approximately 1:55. Thanks. Yeah. got away with one last night, Nicole. I was up here with Patino trying to follow a little bit, but they kept the volume down. Yeah. Don't like our chances tomorrow. Texas A&M. We'll see. Yeah, I mean they lead the country in or 3-point games or whatever.
Patino has some great sound bites, though.
Yes, he does. Coach Spainer will be in here any moment now. Thanks. Welcome, Coach. Thank you for joining us. Can open up the floor to questions here, up here up front. Yes, please. First, last name, affiliation. Thank you.
Casey Bartley, Boiler Upload. Matt, just off the court, have you seen Braden, Fletcher, and Trey just kind of grow as leaders, dealing with media all the time, everything that they've had to take over this year for this team?
Right. Well, I think your leadership and your responsibility, grows, especially with like who we lost, more than anything, just being accountable, like whether you're, on both ends of the court or off the court, just holding other people accountable. And so, the best way to lead is by example. I think all three of those guys lead in a different way, but they've all done a good job growing in that area.
Thanks, Coach. You're in the middle.
Dustin Schutte, Sports Illustrated, Purdue. Matt, it seemed, this could be my untrained eye, but it seems like the last 2 or 3 weeks, maybe you've gone to the offense-defense substitutions a little bit more frequently, particularly with Wilberg and Trey Kaufman-Renn, maybe throw Caleb in there a little bit. Has that been more of the foul situation, game situation, or what do you like about Will coming in those situations? I guess what's kind of been the philosophy behind that?
Yeah, it's been Trey's foul trouble, and then it's also been a bigger center. So like last night, they just, that fit, right? And so like they had a bigger center, on High Point's team, and then Trey got, he gets that one foul early, which isn't foul trouble, right? But still to try to give him a little bit of a breather, and, you just don't know when the whistle comes, right? So I've done it before in the second half, and then we'll play 2.5, 3, straight minutes. And, you want him back in there quicker than that. But, yeah, that's mainly the reasons.
Thanks, Coach. Right here in front.
Ralph Russo with The Athletic. Coach Brownell and some of the players for Clemson talked about how McNeese's defensive switching, they sort of threw a lot at them.
Yes.
And at times when they weren't expecting it, really threw them off. Now, I don't know if that's a card you can only play once, right? Once you show it, is it easier to prepare for
Right.
it? But as you're preparing for them, goes into all that they throw at you?
Right. Well, they switch all the time. So I think what was a little different in that game, they went to their 2-2-1 or their 1-2-2 zone press back to a 2-3, which matched up into a man at the end of the possession. I think that was what was a little bit different from that. But like anytime you think something's going to be your Achilles, and it's hard because you're trying to project when you do your schedule, and sometimes your schedule gets out a little bit. So, we have faced Alabama, we have faced Auburn, we faced Ole Miss. So we have faced some really good teams. I'm trying to think of the teams on top of my head that switch and do some different things. So you got to be able to kind of schedule towards something that you think might give you trouble. About 10, 12 years ago, we struggled against a press, and I thought it was more personnel based, but it still bothered us for about a couple years. And so we always we scheduled Huggy at West Virginia, and so going in there, we went 4 years in a row with just those open scrimmages, and that really helped us. So hopefully our experiences of going against it, and I think more people are switching, maybe not 5 ways, but definitely 4 ways. In college basketball now, you see it obviously in the NBA a lot, but it's not what they do, it's really how they do it and how hard they play and how they close down passing lanes and how they keep pursuing the basketball. A lot of times when you see somebody pressing, everybody thinks everybody's press is the same, when in reality it comes down to how much effort are you giving. McNeese gives a lot of effort. They play very, very hard. They don't give up on plays. They get a lot of deflections. They get a lot of steals. And you just got to do a good job of taking care of the basketball and then understanding how to go about it. When you drive, you have to drive to space. If you're gonna drive to where bodies are, they're gonna take the ball from you.
Thanks, Coach. Here in back.
Eric Rube with the Providence Journal. Coach, how do you counteract a double-digit seed when they have some of that momentum, some of that swagger coming in off an upset of their own? What do your guys have to do to kind of take control and maybe get some confidence of your own early?
Yeah, well, it really doesn't matter, what your seed is. They're a great team. Look at them like you're playing Auburn. Look at them like you're playing Michigan State. They have great players. They have a great coach. They've obviously gained some steam here, and that's the narrative. But when the game starts, the game is still the game, and they play hard. So look at them for what they do and make sure you're selling that to your players about how quick they are, how athletic they are, how tough they are, how they get into gaps. And it's just like, making a clip tape, okay? Here's what works against them. Here's what does not work against them. Do as much of this as you can and stay the hell away from this, because they've proven that they prey on that. Whether it's their extra effort, getting extra possessions on the glass, whether it's their pressing ability, whether it's their switching into their ball swipes. They are very, very aggressive, but there's a method to their madness. They play very hard, and they have rules to what they're doing. So just have that discipline and be able to stay with it, and then try to build that throughout the course of the game, because there's going to be mistakes made like there is in every game. Make sure we keep huddling, make sure we keep talking, and stay on the same page.
Thanks, Coach. Good, Nicole.
Nicole Auerbach, NBC. Matt, you guys have seen some of these great mid-majors and low-major teams over the years.
Mm-hmm.
There's certainly a fearlessness in some of them. We didn't really blink collectively as a 12-over-5 upset yesterday here. Is it as simple as the portal and immediate eligibility, or what do you attribute some of these talented teams, cohesive teams?
Well, if you look at all the stops that their players have been to, if you just look at their team, they have high major players on their team, and sometimes guys on their team that have never been to a high major are still high major caliber players. If you're good, you're good. And they have a lot of really good players, but more than anything, they're connected. But I just think there's a lot of parity in college basketball. There's a lot of change in college basketball, and whoever can get enough guys then to be good together, because we see people that get into the portal and they have a lot of talent and then they underachieve. Well, it's hard to piece it all together in a short amount of time. But you see those coaches that do a better job than other coaches doing it, just because they have that discipline and they get them to buy into their system. And I think that's what he's been able to do here. Like you see, total buy-in, and they have that confidence, right? They have that swagger about them where they believe in each other and they believe that they're going to go out there and win. And why shouldn't you? And that's what I said about High Point. You win your league, you win your tournament, you win 14 straight games, you should be pretty confident. Well, these guys have the same resume. They've won 10 straight, but they've had the same amount of wins, and they're going to feel that way. You just got to be able to play to your strengths and then understand the difficulty that they cause people.
Thanks, Coach. Here to the left.
Hey, Coach. Kyle Hightower from the Associated Press. You guys are never going to fly under the radar with everything you've accomplished, obviously. But when you face a team like McNeese that's coming off a, quote-unquote upset, does it make it easier in the second round for you guys to prepare and kind of focus on you guys when all the attention, or a lot of the attention anyway, is going to be on them and to kind of zone in and lock in on yourselves?
Yeah, we stay process-based. Like of being in the tournament, like we've obviously had, really good wins in the NCAA tournament. We've had, some really tough losses. So we've been through a lot. A lot of times the tough losses that you have won't be the group that you have. It'll be 5-6 years before, and they don't feel that sting and understand that. Well, this group has. Our core players, our 3 leading scorers have been through, some tough losses. And so once last year, and obviously the national championship game the year before, and a 1-16 game. So like they've learned hard lessons. It doesn't mean it can't happen again, right? It can rear its ugly head, but it's still the game. Like they understand that. Like we didn't get beat by a 16 seed, and we didn't respect them. They beat us straight up. Like the refs didn't, do us in. Like we got beat, straight up, and that's a tough pill to swallow. But we had to sit in that, and we did something about it the next year. Even though we didn't end up winning the whole thing, we still did something about it. So kind of shows to the character of the guys that we have. But like we know how good they are, and and that's what we do. We just try to stay. Hey, move to the next game. Like the narrative can be the narrative. It doesn't matter. Like move to the next game. Understand what we have to do to be successful.
Go ahead, Pat.
Hey, Matt. Pat Forty from Sports Illustrated. Kind of an X/No question. You said we're McNeese and other teams do it too. We'll start a possession zone and end it man.
Yeah.
How do you attack that? Do you start zone offense and then be ready to go to different actions when they go to man, or what's the approach?
No, we normally start with whatever we call we stay with. And I think that's what they're wanting to get, right? And then you also obviously have to be able to finish it. Everybody tries to run something, and then if you can't get something, like how do you attack at the end of a clock? Then obviously we do a lot of things through Braden Smith and through a lot of our ball screen stuff. You just have to understand that no matter who's in the game for them, they're switching everything. And then you got to be able to attack it from there. But that's the whole part of pressing or picking the ball up, coming into a zone, going into a man. A lot of people in college basketball do it. Do they wait to the second wing pass? Do they wait to the third pass until they match? Does the ball go to the high post before they match? Everybody has their triggers when they match and go man to man, all right, if that's what they choose to do. So like you just have to understand when that happens, when it goes, if you don't have a shot by then. But putting a lot of time into it. If you just run your regular stuff all the time against something like that, you're going to get bogged down. And I think that's where you see with teams. But it's easier said than done because they will pick up on your pattern and they will pick up on your tendencies. So you got to change with them and mix up some different things and give different looks. So like you're being unpredictable towards their change.
Thanks, Coach. Go ahead.
Hey, Matt. Robbie Listella, Bracketeer.org. Obviously, you guys are led by Trey, Braden, and Fletcher. But how important is it for guys like Camden, CJ, Miles to fill their roles, and will that lead you guys to success in the rest of the tournament here?
Yeah, having depth is going to help you, and it's what I really talk about with guys that come off the bench. Like, there's times where you're not going to be able to get the same volume of shots every game. Like those guys will be able, Braden and Trey Kaufman especially, to where they're going to get a lot of usage. Sometimes the game, what it brings, Cam's going to get more opportunities or Miles is going to get more opportunities. But, you always can defend. You always can rebound. You always can change the game. Like Shakari Harris didn't play a whole lot in last night's game until the end, but he had 8 rebounds. He was just around the basketball. It just made sense for him to stay in there. Then it gave us an extra ball handler in the game. Miles Colvin was very active. I thought he did some really good things. Cam might have been the difference from an individual standpoint, getting a double-double, and they cross-matched us to start with. So they didn't put their center on Trey Kaufman-Wren, and they were able to do that the way we started. So when we went to Cam, they couldn't cross-match it. So we stayed with that, but we also stayed with it because he played so well in his effort. So our ability to rebound yesterday was the difference in the whole game in terms about where we just had so many more possessions than them by getting 19 offensive rebounds.
I got time for one or two more here in the middle.
Dustin Schutte, Sports Illustrated, Purdue. Kind of following up on that, Will was a guy that started the season as a starter, basically, had stretches where he didn't play recently. Can you just talk about his ability to stay ready and kind of stay with it?
Yeah, Will's been very professional, and that's a hard thing to do. We went to Trey Kaufman, as the 5, really from an offensive standpoint, the way Braden and him can work short rolls and pocket passes, it really gives us an advantage and puts centers in tough spots. But it also takes away, we don't have rim protection, and we're not as big. And so that's a little bit of the trade-off. And then somebody's normally going to be out there at that time, and it was him. And whether that's fair or not, that's the decision that we made. But he's been very professional. He's stayed with it. He's kept practicing hard. He's kept a good attitude. And when you do that and you get an opportunity, you normally play well. You get mad and you get frustrated and you sit there it's hard. That's just natural, kind of normal behavior. But give him credit. His number was called and he really helped us.
Anything else out there? All right, we're all set. Thanks, Coach. Good luck tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Be joined by McNeese student athletes here at approximately 2:20. We'll get you those names here hopefully in just